Okay, cool. Starting recording again. I'm just moving them away from each other so I can just get access to all parts of it. Cool. And you end up with something like this, and you might see this a lot of time if you're watching an Unwrap video. It's exploded all the bits, so you can see everything. Cool. Do I have to prepare anything else? I don't think so. All right. Now, there's two ways to do this. We did the first way last week with where we put the textures on and then we unwrap stuff and we fit them to the textures. We can also do the way where we unwrap them first and we kind of fit them in and then we put the textures onto them later. That kind of makes sense? Okay. What way do you want to do? It's not really a better way or a worse way. If you do the way where you make the textures first, you're locked into the texture, but then you have control over where you put all the pieces. It means like you can't really put the pieces wherever you want. Yeah. If you do the second way, you can put the pieces wherever you want, but then in Photoshop you need to put the textures to where you want them to be. So it's kind of like much of a muchness, really. You know, you're either doing more work in Photoshop or you're doing more work in Max. Yeah, which maybe we'll do more work in Max because it might get you better to it. All right, so we'll just make the textures for it first. So in Photoshop, do I make this high res AF? Okay, we're gonna go like super high res textures. What? Your Photoshop doesn't. Okay, it's fine. You can do the whole thing about textures is say this is a square of a texture, right? And I unwrap something to use this little part here. Doesn't matter how big or how small a texture is, that little part, it'll always use the same relative space. So maybe it's easier if I draw on the board, which you can't see on the thing, but what else? And this whiteboard is put in the most stupid place. Like, this is just awkward, man. And I don't have an eraser, unfortunately. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. If it's using this part of it, say I'm unwrapping like a little cylinder, it's the top of the cylinder, and it's using this part of texture. When the texture is small, it'll use this part. When the texture is huge, it'll use the same relative size of it. Like it'll scale as well. So it always the unwrap doesn't care about the size of the texture. It only cares about like the position of it and the relative to that square. So it's always a square, always. Ideally, should be a power of 2, and it doesn't care about the resolution you use, and that's good for us because that means when we go to the game, say you have a super good PC, you can say, oh, okay, when if their VRAM is above a certain amount, use the high res textures, or if they change the setting to low res texture, use the low res texture. But you don't need to unwrap separate models for it. You're just changing the texture from a high res version to a low res version. Does that make sense? Kind of. All right, so we are going to make that texture, so you can make whatever resolution texture you want as long as it's a power of 2.
Are we making the little indents on the...
What indents?
The little big pattern things?
Oh, I don't think we're going to model them. I think we're just going to put them in texture.
Yeah, so I mean, like, are we making them?
No, I'm going to put them in texture for now. Okay, so I'm going to create new. And of these, it's going to be like power of 2. I'm doing 4K because I'm special. But if your computer can't handle it, like just do like 512 or something. 512 by 512 is fine, as long as they're powers of 2. Is anyone still confused about power of 2s? Like, it's completely fine if you are, but you might want to get very used to them. Are we all agreeing with it? Cool. Alright, so I've got 409, is that right? And resolution is always 72 pixels per inch. Until they change that, which they probably have, but I haven't heard anything. And then you probably want no background. You probably, what? This one, pay for it. It's called Magic Painter. This one, it's pretty good. There's another one called Coolorus. Windows.
What
Huh?
What difference does it make? What color are you using?
It just means like, here, let me just pull that in. You should be able to see. That's Coolorus, which I think is cheaper. It's like more or less the same. Kind of like Coolorus better. So it just means like whenever I'm using the color wheel, I can just select whatever color I want and see the complementary color straight away. Do you know what I mean? And I can also do that if you remember from first year, that like tetra colors and stuff. So it creates the palettes for me already. So it's a bit handier because the basic color is just literally this, and then colors. So it's just a little bit handier. That one I think is 12. This one I think is 20. It's like once off. You pay it once and then like you have it. It's but these are like little installers. The Coolora seems to be the easier one to use, and like to be honest, I bought this and I'm like, I'm not using half the stuff with those, so like I could be fine with that one. I actually like this one a little more. It's a bit handier. You can control it a bit easier. Anyway, so that's the color thing. They also do like brush sets, so you can like okay, doesn't work. Great. You can see all your brushes a lot easier, but it doesn't work, so that's great. Look at it. There we go. So you can see all the little brushes and stuff. The what? Oh, I can do, yeah. I'll just put on this code though. What? It's like 10 seconds to download, no? Pretty sure. Internet. Yeah, it'll take 10 seconds. If you do it now, you'll definitely get it. 100%. Alright, so if I find that image that I had, where is it? The initial. No, shit, no. It's opening a max file. Shout out to Mistress Dark Loki, DD420. I don't know, they made it. So if I find this image, I want this part, definitely, these parts, because I'm gonna align my unwrap to it. So I definitely want those. So if I want to cut out that, I'll probably just magic wand all the white parts away. Think that works? Does that work? Cool. Yeah, it's pretty good. And just grab that. Oh, are we supposed to make a snake?
Yeah.
Do y'all want to make a snake still?
Yes, please.
You serious?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh my lord. Okay, this is going to be complicated. Okay, the thing with the snake is, if you're going to make a snake, you do not want, and you want to make it twisty, you do not want to make it twisty before you unwrap it. Because when you go to unwrap it, it means you're unwrapping this twisty ass thing. Now, instead of that, what can I do if I don't want to make it twisty? Yeah, boy. And then twisty. Okay, so I'm gonna make this cylinder. I'm gonna give it a few height segments. I'm gonna make a really crappy snake. I hope y'all don't mind. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna give it a good few height segments. Doesn't really matter how much. And then I'll do edit poly. So snake. If I grab all these points and I want to just like collapse them to a little tippy, I'll just weld them all together. Done. And I'm going to scale these down a little bit just to make it look like it's tapering down. And then for the top, oh, I need to make an actual snake. I just squished the bottom part together. I welded them all together. And then for the top, I'm going to extrude and just like scale them sideways and a little bit up to make the little snake head. I'm making just a really crappy snake head. It's fine. Yeah, border, shift, and drag. Shift and drag makes new polygons, if you remember. Drag will just move the border. So I've got like a crappy snake. I will cap that, and then I'll need to quad this part. Connect this, and cut across. And I'll make them all the same smoothing group, just to make it smooth. Cool, so I got a crappy snake. There you go. It's terrible. So we're gonna unwrap the snake like this because it's way handier. It's way easier to just unwrap the snake like in this. Sorry. In this kind of way because it's just pure straight. So what unwrapping is, does anyone have a little sheet of paper there? I need to get your So last week we just like looked at a polygon, took that polygon out, and then put it where we wanted. But because we're working with way more complicated shapes, for example, a cylinder. If this was a cylinder and I wanted to make it flat, cylinder. So that's a cylinder. And I want to make it flat. I'll let you just cut a thing and then peel it out, and now it's flat. Okay, does that kind of make sense? So I'm going to be doing similar stuff for everything here. So for this, I'll unwrap it later, but yeah, no, I'll leave it to the end. So attach everything, attach that, and I have that little snake that later I will twirl. After I unwrap, I'll twirl it. Skinny ass snake. There we go. Is that snake too big? That's probably okay. Okay, coolio. Are we ready to unwrap, or do people want a little bit more time? Oh, sorry, we're making a texture. So texture, it's tiny. Maybe I can't do 496. I believe in me. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. It's gonna look terrible. Alright, the gem part, I don't know if I want to wrap it to the gem like this. Probably just gonna get rid of this and just leave it to be a color. Get rid of this. And get rid of this. So all the flat parts, these are the flat parts because I'm looking directly at them. I'm just cutting them out so they're separate by themselves. Cool, so these are the flat parts, right? Because they're going to be flat side on. Now for the round parts. So this is kind of a metal. This is kind of a metal. They're both silver. One's a dark silver and one's a light silver metal. Is that okay? And then there was a blue metal as well, correct? So there's if we look back at the picture, there is a lighter metal, a darker metal, and a blue metal. And everything else is pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much everything. So if I go and look for, I can literally just go look for metal texture. And just make sure whenever you get something, make sure you find free ones. There's a place called CG Textures. It's full of free, some of them are free. and they have loads of different little textures, and there's loads of places to get free textures. Whatever you do, make sure you don't get something that has like a watermark on it, because it will show up, and don't get something that breaks copyright, of course. So I'm just gonna grab this. That's pretty nice. Why would I paste? Oh my god, they're tiny. My resolution is way too high. That's metal. The part's gonna be there, should be alright. And then I need a part for my gem. What color gem do we want? What? Okay. Okay, so just blue. I'll just make it blue. Okay. So texture. I'm gonna select a little area here and just convert that to blue. I'll just fill that with blue. And I also need blue metal. Now the thing is, all the parts with blue metal on my text, on my reference, any part that has blue, they're very small. They're only a really tiny small part. So on my texture, they probably only need to be a tiny small part, because I'm only going to be unwrapping really small pieces onto them. So I don't need to like fill the entire area. I don't need to have like, oh, this entire area is going to be blue. I'll just make a small little area. I will make this area blue. Make a new layer. I'll make, this area. Okay. And what I can do, if I make that, if I fill that with blue and change the blending mode from normal to soft color or overlay. Where's soft color? Soft light even, sorry. Soft light will change that to like the blue metal. So it just like gives you whatever is below it, but kind of tints it whatever color you're putting onto it. So I'm going to tint it soft light, okay? Or overlay, just figure out which one works. I like the overlay better, so I'm going to go with overlay. That cool? Okay, so I'm going to put that in Discord. Let me just get rid of this. I updated my Photoshop and it's just such a pile of crap now. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, in Discord it is the asset design. Where is it? Cool. Oh no.
How do I get added to that Discord?
Huh?
How do I get into that Discord?
Are you actually serious? Like, okay, that's gone up there. Have you been at it yet?